The second collection of short stories in Polish fantasy author Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher series is titled Sword of Destiny. Despite being released in 1992, it is formally regarded as the second installment of the series. 6 stories make up the collection, which is somewhat chronologically connected. They present characters who go on to play significant roles in the subsequent books, which start with Blood of Elves and are collectively referred to as the Witcher Saga. The story with the same title. Story 1: The Bounds of Reason. In search of a green dragon, Geralt of Rivia encounters wandering knight Borch 3 Jackdaws, and his Zerrikanian bodyguards T and Vea. Despite being a skilled monster killer known as a Witcher, Geralt clarifies that he does not murder dragons since they do not attack people. Along with Geralt's friend Dandelion, a group of dwarfs led by Jaap and Zigrin, a mercenary group called the Crinfried Reavers, and another led by Boholt, the chivalrous paladin Ike of Denisel, a company of men-at-arms led by the youthful King Niedermir, and the sorcerers Dorigore and Geralt's former lover Yennefer, they join a larger group of hunters hunting the dragon. Eventually, the group comes upon villain Treetemirth, a golden dragon that challenges anyone to a fair fight. When Ike of Denisel concedes and loses, the party's determination wanes, and the cadre of King Niedermir departs. Together, Boholt, the dwarfs, and the Reavers decide to take on the dragon and divide the loot. Yennefer paralyzes and ties Geralt, Dorigore, and Dandelion to a cart because they disagree. Because the dragon's viscera is intended to cure her infertility, Yennefer tries to disable the dwarfs and Reavers so she may slay the dragon herself, but she ends up incapacitated. Weary of waiting, villain Treetemirth joins the battle and eliminates the dwarfs and Reavers. He confronts an approaching militia from a nearby hamlet, leaving a young green dragon in the care of the other party members. The golden dragon receives assistance from T and Vea, who then show that Borch was truly villain Treetemirth in human form. After taking on his human form, villain Treetemirth tells how Murgtabrak, the green dragon, asked him for help and gave him her hatchling as treasure in exchange. Villain Treetemirth is asked by Geralt why he chose to wear a human disguise. Villain Treetemirth acknowledges that he is fond of humans, in contrast to the other dragons. Yennefer is told that there is no way to reverse her infertility, but she isn't giving up on finding a solution. Villain Treetemirth takes flight, transforming again into a dragon. Story 2: A Shard of Ice. Outside of Jinvale, Geralt tracks down and murders a Zeugl that is residing in a rubbish heap. He stays at their inn when he returns to Yennefer, lamenting the confusing and irritable attitude of the town. Yennefer is visiting her sorcerer friend Istrid and likes the town and its history, so she is adamant that they stay. The couple makes love to one another. The arrogant warrior Ivo Merce, also known as a Cicada, who works for the alderman Herbolf, pays Geralt his compensation for killing the Zeugl but deducts a minor tax. Geralt encounters this man the following morning. Herbolf also notes that Yennefer has visited Istrid on numerous previous occasions while in Jinvale. Cicada follows Geralt outside and bothers him. When Geralt and Istrid meet, he confesses his love for Yennefer and makes a marriage proposal. However, she declines, asking for more time to consider. Istrid wants Geralt would go and never return because she feels that his presence is complicating her decision. Istrid maintains that since witches aren't really emotional beings, he's a better partner for her than Geralt. Since Yennefer spent the previous night sleeping with him, Geralt is certain that she loves him. With a smug smile, Istrid responds that she had breakfast with him. That evening, when Yennefer gets home, she and Geralt talk about their respective natures. With her magic, Yennefer conjures forth a black kestrel, to which she asks what the truth is. The kestrel answers, "The truth is a shard of ice." Geralt and Istrid decide to fight for Yennefer's hand the following day. Herbolf steps in and tells Geralt not to kill Istrid because the community needs his services. Weary and traumatized by the previous events, Geralt enters a shadowy alley unarmed. 2 robbers assault him, but they flee when they discover he is a witcher. If he wants to kill himself, one robber advises him not to involve anyone else. He gets a message from Yennefer that evening. The following morning, Geralt defeats Cicada and his soldiers and then meets Istrid, who has a parting note from Yennefer. Istrid still wants to battle Geralt and refuses to accept this. After giving him the thieves' remarks again, Geralt walks away. Story 2: Eternal Flame. After Dandelion is expelled by his vengeful girlfriend Vespula, Geralt meets him in the capital city of Novigrad. Dandelion begs his friend, halfling trader Dainty Bibervelt, to settle his outstanding account and purchase them dinner at a neighboring inn when they go there. The three engage in light banter till another battered Dainty interrupts them because Dainty is frightened of Geralt. The Dainty that Geralt and Dandelion were conversing with is a mimic, sometimes referred to as a Doppler or Vexling, which is a creature capable of mimicking and changing into other people. Declaring his identity, the Doppler goes by Tellico Lungravink Latort, also known as Dudu. Dainty was left penniless and his reputation tarnished when Dudu attacked him outside of Novigrad, took his horses and wagon, and sold them to purchase goods that appeared to be worthless in Dainty's name. Due to Dudu's intellect, Geralt declines to murder him. After Dudu makes his getaway, Schwan, a municipal official, orders Dainty to pay a tax on Dudu's earnings, which Dainty is unable to pay. Chapel, the head of the city's secret police and royal minister of security affairs, confronts the three. Chapel informs them that the city is shielded from monsters and other similar threats by the eternal fire, thus rumors of a Doppler in the area need to stop spreading. The treasurer of the merchant guild, Muskrat, shows in and informs Dainty that the useless items Dudu purchased have sold for enormous sums as a result of recent political developments. The people who have completed Dudu's transactions thus far are Dainty's acquaintance, Vimy Vivaldi, a banker. He clarifies that legitimate purchases that were resold for enormous amounts were concealed by Dudu's worthless acquisitions. Owing to Dudu's achievements, Dainty has fully paid his taxes and regained his wealth and reputation. Still at large, though, Dudu uses Dainty's face to make random purchases and transactions. When Geralt, Dandelion, and Dainty locate Dudu, they pursue him. Dudu fights him by changing into Geralt, but he is too nice and loses. Dudu clarifies that all he wants is to blend in and live in the city. He turns into Dandelion and goes inside the market, where a still irrational Vespula beats him. Geralt tries to apprehend Dudu, but Chapel stops him, revealing that he is also a Doppler, having assumed the form of a recently murdered Chapel. Dudu, Chapel, and Dainty decide that Dudu can serve as Dainty's stand-in in Novigrad and reside in the city under the guise of Dainty's cousin, Dudu Bibervelt. Dudu reveals that he plans to make more money by using his random purchases to build more altars of eternal fire. Story 3: A Little Sacrifice. In order to help Duke Agloval propose to his sweetheart, the mermaid Shuinaz, Geralt serves as a translator. Because Agloval won't pay Geralt and neither side is willing to change to live with the other, the proposal fails. He meets up with Essie Davin, a female minstrel known as a Little Eye, and Dandelion, who is his close buddy. When Agloval shows up, he has an assignment for Geralt. A pearl diving boat was discovered drifting by itself in the ocean, the crew had disappeared, and there were bloodstains on the deck, which were likely caused by a sea monster. Geralt and Essie kiss after accepting the job, although neither of them can explain it. Geralt starts his hunt the following day, and Essie goes along. Geralt is unable to locate someone who will accompany him to the location of the fishing boat. Shuinaz cautions Geralt not to visit the location. With Dandelion, Geralt is able to reach the location thanks to Essie's nautical expertise. Dandelion surmises that the stairs the two locate that lead into the water lead to the submerged city of Ys. Underwater animals assault the two of them. As Geralt and Dandelion manage to escape, Geralt is pulled underwater, but Shuinaz saves him and warns him off once more. Essie confesses her love for Geralt as she tends to his wounds. But because of his love for Yennefer, Geralt has no feelings for her. He lets Essie stay with him for the evening and offers her a pearl that she promises to protect that was found on the steps leading to Ys. Agloval learns about the underwater race from Geralt, but he declines to murder them because they are sentient. Geralt and Essie beg Agloval not to go to war with the creatures, but he does. But Shuinaz, who has turned human, comes to marry Agloval and live with him. Together, Geralt, Essie, and Dandelion depart and travel, with Gerald and Essie ultimately calling it quits on their relationship. The night before they part, Dandelion writes a ballad about a witcher and a bard falling in love, but he never sings it. Essie dies in a smallpox epidemic a few years later, and Dandelion buries her with her lute and the pearl Gerald gave her. Gerald and Essie never see each other again. Story 4: Sword of Destiny. In order to convey a message from King Venslav to Ian, the Queen of the Dryads, Gerald travels to Brokellan, the last forest. He discovers the Dryads' abandoned corpses and the damaged but still alive body of his comrade Friixenit, one survivor. Gerald is approached by Dryads, and Brain, one of them, agrees to accompany him to Ian. A girl named Ciri joins Gerald and Brain after they slay a gigantic centipede that was posing a threat. Ciri tells Gerald that she is a princess who was about to be married off to Prince Kistrin, the son of King Ervil, but that she ran away because she likes him. Arriving in Duin Canal, the center of Brokellan, are Brain, Gerald, and Ciri. Since the Dryads want him to impregnate some of them, Friixenit's wounds have been attended to. Ciri learns that the Dryads have an agenda to keep her. They increase their population by enslaving young females and brainwashing them into adopting their ways, much as they did Brain. Ian and Gerald talk about destiny, which Ian views as a double-edged sword. Ciri is given the option by Ian to remain in the wilderness or go with Gerald. She forces Ciri to drink the Brokellan water, which erases memories of a past existence, but Ciri is unaffected. Gerald learns that Ciri is Cyrilla, daughter of Pavetta and granddaughter to Queen Calanthe of Sintra, and Gerald's promised child of destiny as per the law of surprise, which he enacted in her question of price, simultaneously with the drinking of the water. At the outskirts of Brokellan, after being set free by Ian, Ciri and Gerald awaken. The two head for Bruges, where they inform King Venslav that Ian would not give him any land. They come to Verdun mercenaries, dispatched by King Ervil, who had killed several traders and want to exploit the event as justification to start a conflict with the Dryads. While Ciri hides, Gerald battles them with assistance from Dryads and the druid Mousesack, who has been tasked with bringing Ciri to Sintra. Mousesack tells Sintra that Calanthe has called off Ciri's planned marriage to Kistrin, and that Ervil's despicable behavior will support her choice. As might be predicted under the law of surprise, Ciri and Mousesack beg Gerald to take Ciri with him. However, Gerald refuses and makes an attempt to depart when Ciri is sleeping. When Ciri awakens, she beckons Gerald and tells him she is his destiny, but he ignores her and turns away. Story 5: Something More. After extorting the law of surprise from the merchant Jurga, Gerald defends him from creatures that had overturned his wagon. After defeating the creatures, Gerald sustains serious injuries. After placing Gerald in his cart, Jurga offers him one of his healing potions, causing him to pass out and dream about his past. In the first, Yennefer tells Gerald that they can't stay together, and he agrees. Gerald then spends Beltane with her. 6 years after his visit in A Question of Price, Gerald returns to Sintra in the following. He sees kids having fun in the castle's moat. He can guess which child is Pavetta's, who perished in a shipwreck with Junie, and take it, but Calanthe won't tell him whether he's right. She is worried about what would happen to her grandson if she is abducted because she is aware of the witch's training. But Gerald wanted to meet destiny head-on and come to his own understanding, not to make good on his pledge. Gerald reveals that he was left behind by his sorceress mother, that the witch's law of surprise did not claim him, and that he still rejects fate. He goes after claiming to have seen Pavetta's son playing in the moat. When Gerald wakes up, his mother Vicenna is tending to him. Vicenna declines Gerald's request to look at her in order to determine whether fate has brought them back together, claiming that nothing will change. The following day, Jurga informs Gerald about the events at the Battle of Sodden, which resulted in the defeat of the Nilfgaardian armies but also claimed the lives of 14 sorcerers. The names of the deceased sorcerers are listed on a memorial. When Gerald gets there, he recalls his interactions with the sorcerers on the list before running upon Death, a young woman, there. She reads him Yennefer of Vengerberg, the final name listed on the tombstone. Gerald begs Death to take him, but she declines, heartbroken. Later, Jurga informs Gerald that he is aware of the names and that Yennefer is not the last one. Gerald retracts his law of surprise upon Jörger's offer to train one of his sons as a witch. Gerald remembers having met Dandelion not long after Nilfgaard started his continental march. After he travels to Sintra, Gerald vows to assist Dandelion in crossing the river and saves him. Dandelion informs him that Sintra has collapsed, with Calanthe leaping from the castle's walls and every nobleman taking their own life. Ciri is thought to be dead and missing. Feeling hopeless, Gerald queries Dandelion about his belief in fate, arguing that even if two individuals are meant to be together, there needs to be something more, for that fate to hold any significance. At last, Jörger and Gerald reach her residence. A surprise awaits Jörger's wife. She has taken in a young child who was left orphaned by the attacks. It is discovered that the child is Ciri, the Sintra escapee. Gerald tells Ciri that she is something more when she wonders if she is his destiny as they embrace.